everybody out there in podcast land. This is episode number 107 of eBay the Right Way. I'm your hostess, Suzanne A. Wells, and today's date is April 5th, 2023. The big announcement this week is the 2023 BOLO book is at the printer now and will hit my eBay store in a matter of days. I wanted to take a minute to tell you how the book is the same as last year. We are keeping things you've told me you like, and some features that are new and improved. Okay, first off, how it is the same. Information is evergreen, meaning the items have been profitable for many years and will continue to be great flips. The book is the same price as previous years, so no inflation here. There are 125 items across 10 different categories, so a variety of items and something for everyone. 86 of the items I learned about since the last BOLO book came out, and 103 of them have not been mentioned on my online platforms. These are items I figured out on my own or learned about by observing other sellers and social media platforms and just doing the research. The book is the same size. It's easy to fit in a handbag and take with you. It's spiral bound and lays flat, so it's easy to study. The print is large 16 point, easy to see, and many of you remarked that you like that large print because you don't even need your reading glasses. I know my audience is baby boomers and Gen Xers, and we are at the age where, yes, reading glasses are usually necessary. The colored tabs help you flip to the desired section quickly, and the photos are large, full color, and show variations of the items in some cases and logos, because seeing the items helps you remember them. The index is very helpful, so if you can't remember the exact name of something, you can find it easily with keywords. And we have a green vintage logo on vintage items. So if that's something you're interested in learning more about, those are clearly marked. And the most important thing, all new information, no repeats from previous BOLO books. So over time, when you have books from different years, all of the items are different. So you definitely want to hang on to these books for reference because each edition will be useful in the future. Okay, some new features this year. The first one is we are releasing it earlier in the year. Our goal is to release the book in future years during the first quarter. This year, it's ready for the spring yard sale season. So we are gradually moving the release date to earlier in the year. The second thing is a new section called Knowledge is Power, where I have summarized eBay changes from the previous year. You will love this information compiled in one easily accessible place. Some eBay changes aren't even announced, they just happen. So this section will keep you on track with new eBay policies and recent changes. And it will be especially valuable for anyone who has left eBay and returns because eBay has a lot of moving parts and it can be a challenge to keep up with everything and do everything the right way and keep your account healthy. The third thing is I will have 2 listings in my eBay store, one for the book by itself and one for a combo pack with the 2023 BOLO book and 2023 calendar. So you get a price break if you buy both, as well as combined shipping to keep your costs as low as possible. So if you aren't already following my eBay store, you can do that by going to the link below and then click on the little heart next to Save Seller on the right. And you can just check back and keep an eye out for when the new BOLO book is actually in my store. Okay, and now for the conversation with Jane.
Hello, listeners. Today we have Jane with us, and she has a very interesting story and another layer of eBay that most of us don't have. So, how are you doing this morning, Jane?
I am doing well. I'm doing well.
And tell us where you're located.
So I am in Manasquan, New Jersey, a little beach town here at the Jersey Shore.
Okay, and you've lived other places, though.
I was born in Wyoming. I've lived in Colorado. I lived in Florida. So I've kind of been all over the place.
Okay, great. And I reached out to you to be on the podcast because I was noticing your sales on the Money Making Mondays. And we had to do this a little bit earlier than normal because you have another job that we're going to talk about that the listeners are probably going to be envious of. So we always start off with how you got started with eBay. So tell us about that journey.
Okay, so I got started with eBay. I worked at the hospital and I worked at a restaurant. And I used to do consignment at one of the local thrift shops here in town, which is no longer here. Bring my stuff in, sell it for a couple dollars. And my girlfriend started selling on eBay, and she's like, you got to follow Suzanne Wells and do eBay. And so I took the leap and I listed an item for 99 cents, had no idea, or on auction, I should say. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I listed it and I was like, all right, I'm going to sell this item for $10. And then all of a sudden it was like sold 99 cents. And I was like, what? Like, that's not what I wanted to do. So I listed a couple other items and I started watching Suzanne's YouTube videos. So I was watching her YouTube videos and stuff like that. And I was like, all right, I could do this. I can sell these things. I have these things laying around or whatnot. So I started, listing a few more items, shoes, clothes, kind of what I really started with aside from that one game. And then here and there, this was back in 2018. I don't know if I said that.
Okay.
So I just kept going, and then here it started going, and then it just kept going and going and going. I was like, all right, this is kind of cool. And I never had Facebook before either. So I actually didn't join Facebook until 2021. I think that's when I started posting on the Money Making Mondays and stuff like that.
Okay.
Stay a little incognito, and I didn't want people to find me either. So
yeah, that's the thing about Facebook. You're out there. So
yes. And Jane is my middle name. That's not my first name. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to do this. It's still me, but it's not fully me. So people aren't going to know.
Okay.
So I just kept listing during the pandemic, my eBay. I mean, it took off. So, and I was going out and I was searching and I was going, to Goodwill from what you had said and thrift stores. And I like to do that. But I found when I came home from after my little thrift store hauls, I wasn't getting things listed right away. And I was like, these are the piles everyone's talking about.
Yes, it multiplies at night when you're sleeping.
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't mean for this to happen. But I mean, I'm also working 2 jobs as well, trying to on eBay. Like, it's a fun thing for me. I try to not think of eBay as a job or a career. Same thing with my little thrift store. This is my hobby, not my job or my career, because I also work at a pizzeria right now.
Okay.
I was doing those little thrift store and, here and there, yard sales. And I was like, you know what? There is so much free stuff just all around us all the time. So I started to learn how to utilize free piles, and someone taught me the free apps and the stuff like this on Facebook. So I started using more of those. So in fact, I was going to get my coffee and there was a pile and I was like, don't stop, you gotta go. And I was like, no, stop. I literally just threw this dresser in the back of my car like Hulk all by myself, feeding the garbage truck down the road. I'm like, what are you doing? Anyway, so I just started resourcing the natural piles, everything. I mean, I live between two towns. I should say I'm in a very wealthy area. I live in $1 million home that I don't pay $1 million for. So,
Okay.
and the towns, when we do bulk garbage day, they do them twice a season. So I know I always mention bulk garbage and people are like, what is bulk garbage? Well, you can't just put your bulk items to the curb any night you want. When the garbage comes, you have to do it on the selected nights. So I know these selected nights on the two towns next to me, and they put the stuff out so nice. They'll put it like all out of the box in a neat little row. And it's meant for people to just come by, take what you need. Otherwise, it's getting trashed.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of my most favorite bulk garbage. Is like, I love bulk garbage because you never know what you're going to find. So one time I was driving to work and I'm like, a free table. And I was like, free table, what? And I look over, there's like this really cool, I don't know if I was saying it right, anthropomorphic with the eyes, you know?
Right. Looks like a human. It's a
right. Yeah. And it was like a
thing. Yeah.
Right. So it was like this hound picture. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I gotta have it. I gotta have it. So I pull over, I get to the table, I get the picture because that was the one thing I wanted. And then I noticed this cute little tea set and I'm like, oh, such a cute little tea set. And I was like, how am I carrying it back to the car? So I was like, all right, throw it in this big cabbage bowl. So I'm throwing all these little teapots and cups in this cabbage bowl, and I get in my car. And now more people see this free table, and now it's starting to get flocked. But I was like, yes, I got here just in time. I got all the really cute stuff. I got home. I looked up that teapot. I almost fell off my couch. I ended up selling the teapot for $425.
Really?
Canada. So that was like my first really big, like, oh my God, garbage rescue find. And that's what really inspired me to like keep looking, like there's free. Stop spending your money on all this stuff that's just sitting around collecting dust.
Right. Well, and the whole accumulating items, having a pile, I really think that goes back to our original DNA, like when humans were on the earth 2 million years ago when they appeared. It's like we're hunter-gatherers. That's what we do. And whether you're going to the grocery store to buy stuff or it's just part of how we're wired is being hunter-gatherers. And so you accumulate a pile, but then you have that to work on during those wonderful New Jersey snowstorms when you can't get out.
Right.
Get your backup. Yeah.
So, and my mom taught me as a young kid how to do it because she was one of 14. So she taught me about bulk garbage night when I was a kid.
Oh, really? Okay.
I just always used it for like, oh, I need an end table, or, oh, I need this little side something, or, oh, I could, and would do it just for fun or for personal items. So I had the opportunity where I live, there's a little retail space down below from where I live. And I knew that it was getting moved over to the bar. It was a barber shop. So I was like, I have all this extra stuff. I got it all for free. A lot of it is really nice. What do I do? So I was like, maybe I'll open a thrift shop. And this was about right around this time last year. I keep a little calendar logbook, kind of just like this, and I keep all my information in it. And I was like, all right. And I wrote down Tiff's Thrifts. This was like just an idea. I had no idea. And this year it actually became reality. I still don't even know what I'm doing, but literally everything in my store is stuff that I found for free or gotten for free. So while I was looking for my counters and stuff, there was a store at the mall and it was closing down. And I went and I was like, oh, they're like, take anything you want. So I got some clothing racks and I got this. And I went into the break room and that's where I came across that box of water filters.
Okay.
Like I would probably just leave those aside. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. So I was like, you know what? And I was like, hey, come here, throw this box in my car. And so I had someone carry the box to my car. It was the 9 filters. And I just posted my first one for $102. So I was like, awesome. And I wouldn't have ever picked up water filters if it wasn't for watching Money Making Mondays and seeing the amazing items that everybody posts. And I'm like, yes, this is great. So
yes, this is real. It's true.
Right. It's so much fun. Or like, one of the other items, my son is really big into Pokemon. And I went and I was like, all right, it's a Pokemon. I know nothing about them. And I came home, his eyes lit up. He's like, oh, you got that for me? And I was like, I don't know if I got this for you. I was like, if it's under $40, I'll give it to you. But if it's not, and it's worth more, then no, it's going on my eBay store and you can keep it in your room until I sell it.
Yeah, you can look at it until I sell it.
Right. So I looked that one up and that one was it sold, I think, within a few days for $120. That's like, I was like, what? On a plush animal? Like
okay. So it was a plush.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember what the character was?
I want to say Sylveon, maybe. I don't know. It was a big white unicorny that I couldn't even.
Okay, yeah. So all right. A big white thing.
yeah. And he I don't remember where I shipped that one to, but it always amazes me where people are buying from. So that's a few things I started doing this year too, was marking what states I'm actually shipping to. And it's so
fun. Yeah.
Because I'm like, I should just see if I can get to all 50 states in 1 month or something.
Or just see where it goes, because I did that for a long time with my kids when they were little, because I started this when they were 6 and 8. And I had a big map on the wall and we'd put a little round, sticker on cities. Because,
fun.
And then we changed to a world map because I started shipping internationally. And, I'm terrible at geography. And it's like, oh, really? That's down by India? I thought this was up, in the Middle East. So it was a good lesson of like, where is this place? But yeah, that's fun to see where things go. And, eventually you'll hit every state.
Yeah. So it's fun. I really enjoy it. So
let's talk about your thrift store a little bit, because I have some questions, and I'm sure the listeners are going to have these same questions. But obviously, you have to pay rent.
Correct.
Can you share how much that is?
It's $1,100. So it's a very small space. And it's the same people who I rent my home from. So, yeah. So it was, like I said, it's literally right downstairs from where I live. So it's super, super convenient. So my eBay store is called Tiff's Attic, and I keep that all my stuff I list it and it goes right up in my attic to the shelves, to the bins, or wherever it belongs up there. And now I have my thrift store downstairs and it's called Tiff's Thrift.
Okay. So do you have things listed on eBay that are in the physical store?
No, totally separate. I don't want, because I also work, like I said, at the pizzeria. So I don't want my son to be in the store for me and sell something that I've listed on eBay and I can't keep track. And I don't want that headache. So eBay is completely separate from my thrift store. Why I opened the thrift store was because I wanted more sourcing. I wanted to be able to source. So what I've been trying to do is house cleanouts. So people who have just sold their house, someone has passed away, unfortunately, the house sold, they need everything out. I've been trying to be like, hey, I'll come, all the knickknacks and small stuff and clothes and linens, I'll come and I'll pack it up and haul it out of here for you. And so I've gotten to do 2 of those so far. And it's so much fun. Or sometimes they have the stuff packed and I just had to grab the boxes. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool too. And I just come in and I sit on my little bench here and I go through everything. And it's like, you never know what you're going to find. I got a sweater, a Ralph Lauren sweater. I don't know the style, but I listed it for $200. And I would have probably never known that item too, unless if it wasn't for watching, you know?
It's amazing how much you absorb just by watching.
Yeah, it is.
So do you have criteria for this goes in the physical store and this goes on eBay?
Well, what I'm trying to do this year, which I've also learned from you, is higher dollar profit items on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a piece of clothing or something, I want it to now be over $50. I know I'm going a little high. And then knickknackies or small things or whatnot. I'm trying to get like 40, 35 and over to go on there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my goal this year that I've been working on. Of course, you know, I don't go on and update and change and relist and restart. I don't do that. Like, you can now see I'm posting items. This has been listed since 2019 and I finally sold. So,
well, I mean, that's okay because I sell things all the time that I've had for years. And what comes to mind is a pair of eyeglasses. Eventually, somebody's going to need or want that frame. And they're usually so cheap, they don't take up any room. So I just, I do end them and restart them, but I keep track of my inventory and when I purchase things. So the longer you do it, the more confident you get that everything will eventually sell. It's just waiting for that person to need it.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I sold some eyeglasses I'd had for 3 years a few weeks ago. And sometimes it's like I sold something yesterday that I had for 2 years and it was something really nice. It's like somebody is eventually going to want this.
Right.
So it's not, people get so frustrated with, why is no one buying this? It's just sitting there. It's a great item and it's not your control. It's when does somebody need it? You didn't do anything wrong. It's just, you have to have patience for this business.
Right. And that's something I learned from you because I met this other reseller at the thrift store. This is one of my new favorite things. I'm meeting a lot of new resellers.
Okay.
He does sell on eBay. He's a younger kid. And I ran into him at a rummage sale the other day and he's like, oh, how have your eBay sales been? And I'm like, like nothing crazy, just 2 or 3 items this week. He's like, yeah, my sales, they just like dropped and I don't know what's going on. And I mean, sometimes it's like that. Sometimes no one's buying that week. Sometimes just you got to wait the next day and it's,
and asking other sellers, are your sales slow? That is useless because
right.
It all depends on what you sell, what your business model is. Are you, turn and burn? Are you long tail? How long have you been selling? Your feedback, all that stuff is part of the algorithm. And I've been seeing a pattern of like, usually there's 1 week of the month where it just is painfully slow and dragging. But it always comes back.
Right. So, and then all of a sudden it's like 5 items in one day.
Yeah. It's like, what happened? And maybe somebody did flip a switch at eBay. It's just a magical thing. But just for the listeners, try to avoid the whole going on Facebook and saying, is your sale slow? Because you ask 20 people, you're going to get 20 answers. Everybody's business is different. And really, you're only competing against yourself. So keep good records so you can look back and say, oh yeah, last March, it was slow around this time too. Maybe it has to do with what I'm selling. So that's a plug for keep good records, because then you can look back at your store, your account and see what happened.
Right. And then I remember one time last year in February, I was like, you know what? My puzzles aren't selling. Let me put them on sale. So I never ever, I do all my eBay from my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go on the computer and I'm going to put them on sale from the computer. I'm going to start learning something new. And I went in, I figured out, I put all my puzzles on sale. Well, it was like 3 weeks straight. I didn't get an offer to be sent. I didn't get anything. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I, like, I seriously thought that I did something wrong.
I know, you take it so personally. It's like,
Yeah.
why do they like my stuff?
And I was like, what did I messed up my whole thing? But then I was like, come on, you're overreacting. Just take a deep breath. It's really slow. Everything that's going on in the world. Like I had to reassure myself for a second that I didn't make a mistake for putting my puzzles on sale.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes sales just don't work. I mean,
but that was the only time I think I ever really got a little anxiety over it, should I say, of like, what happened? What'd I do?
mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just, that's normal. And it always comes back. And the best thing to do is, like your first grade teacher told you, just keep your eyes on your own paper and do your work. Don't worry about everybody else. And because the more you dwell on something that you want, that you aren't getting or don't have, that creates anxiety. That creates worry. Like, why is this not happening? No, don't do that. Focus on getting those things listed in that pile in the corner. Move yourself forward, do something productive, because, worrying is just completely useless. It's a waste of time and energy.
Yes. So another thing is, I mentioned I work at the pizzeria. So I started talking to my customers and I'm like, hey, I sell on eBay. So now when I go to work on like Friday and Saturday nights, people come in and they're bringing me bags of stuff. Like, I hope you can do something with this. So sometimes, like, also when I post, you'll see like, got this from a customer at work. That's pizzeria job.
So they just give it to you for free.
Yeah. They're just like, here you go. So, because a lot of people will come into the store and be like, oh, can you do consignment? And I'm not doing consignment at my thrift store. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be responsible for people's stuff. And it's a very small space. I want my own treasures and my own stuff.
Yeah. And consignment can be tricky because you're doing the work up front, well, for eBay anyway, and putting that item out there. And, for eBay, things can be returned. So you can't really pay your customers until that window has closed, because if you sell something for $100 and then you give your consignment customer half of it and then it gets returned, what are you going to do? You're going to have to go back and say, yeah, I'm going to need that money back, or it's going to have to come out of your next sale or something like that. And that's the main reason I stopped doing it, was just dealing with returns. Or you could just say you won't get your money for 60 days, and nobody wants that. They want consignment because they think it's quick money. Yeah. So it just works out better to either buy stuff outright from people or get them to give it to you for free.
Yeah. And I've been very successful with that. So my one customer, they were moving, and every Friday for like 3 months, they brought me, like, they would fill up my trunk with stuff. It was great. At the end of the night, I'd go out in the parking lot and we do a little swap in the parking lot. And I sold one of the tapestries they gave me for $100. So I was like, I went in, I was like, you guys wouldn't believe it. I sold that tapestry. He's like, no way. And I was like, I did $100 on eBay, and then I bought them a bottle of wine because I was like, thank you guys. Thank you for supporting my business. I really appreciate it. So nice of you. You guys don't have to do this. And they got mad at me for giving them the wine because they're like, Tiffany, we want you to make this money. You know what you're doing. We want you to, be successful. And I was like, thank you. So all the people that come out from my other job to my thrift store, like, here, I got you this. Here, I got you this. And I'm like, my new motto is, yes, I love free stuff.
Yes, exactly. And it sounds like you have a lot of support from your community. And you mentioned that you're a single mom. And
yes,
I was one of those too. And people like to help single moms. They don't see you as like, oh, pathetic and you can't do this. It's like, she's doing a great job. You're working basically 3 jobs with your,
Right,
your thrift store and your waitressing, and you're hustling it, and you're not sitting around just waiting for a handout. You are working, and
right. And
you're
I
making
think that
it
a lot of
happen.
people see that and they're like, wow, like you're doing it, you know, like other
Mhm.
should be able to do this too. So it's really nice that people support. And you know, some people will come into my store and be like, well, do you take donations? And I'll be like, yeah, I take donations. And they're like, well, what do you donate to? And I'm like, right now, nothing. I'm just keeping my door open. Like I'm selling
Mhm.
items for 50 cents to $1 right now. So I don't know what you think I'm profiting. You know, I just felt our little town, I mentioned a thrift store here and it closed down during the pandemic. And I just felt it was the one kind of store we just didn't have back in town. So I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give it a try. And I mean, I've only had my doors open. Grand opening was on Valentine's Day. So I've only been open for just over a month and it's off season. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? So I made enough money to pay the bill in my very first month. And like I said, I'm selling items for $1. I want resellers to be able to come into my thrift store and be like, oh my God, I just found this great piece for $2 and I can resell it for 30. Like, you know, that's my point of the thrift store, because now I just got that item that I listed on eBay for 200 that nobody knows about. So,
Mhm.
and everyone is happy and feels like they got a good deal. I got a $200 item and now you guys got all these other fun things. So
Mhm.
um I had a Laradro. I'm not how you
Oh, Yadro, Lladro. Yes, that
yes,
is
I had one of those.
those are made in Spain, and they're high dollar exquisite ceramic and porcelain collectibles.
And right. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, you have so much breakable stuff that isn't selling right now. Put this one in the store. I did it for $10 because I wanted someone to come in and be like, oh my God, you have this for $10 and now I can make money off of it too. I don't know if she was a collector or whatnot, but she was so happy. She's like, I can't believe you only have this for $10. And I'm like, that's the point of me being here right now. So I
Mhm.
source these items for me and you, and I love doing it. And everyone's making out in the end.
And if you sell 100 things a day, which I don't know if that's a little too aggressive, but okay, let's say 50 items a day, and for $10 a piece, you know, and you do that every day. And I see that you are, thrift stores for eBay sellers, it's like our crack. We just are addicted.
Right.
You're like getting those people into your store. And I don't want to use the word addicted because that has a negative connotation. But so you have these habitual customers that like,
Right.
oh, what can I find in there today? And if you're getting so much stuff free and from house cleanouts and garbage picks, it's impossible to list it all. Even
Right.
if you pay somebody, there's problems with that. Been down that road, but there's only so much one person can do. So I love that you have this thrift store to
Yes.
serve the resellers in your community.
And I've already have a lot of repeat customers. Sometimes I have time to talk to them, sometimes I don't. The one lady does antiques, and we she'd been in a few times, and I can kind of tell the people who are resellers by the way they come in and shop, because they usually buy a decent pile, whereas like your typical thrifter is just looking for a one shirt or a one type of item, whereas like resellers are like, oh, look at all the treasures I found.
Do you have senior day?
I don't yet, but that might be a good idea to add.
Well, those are the people, I was so excited to turn 55 a couple years ago and get that senior discount. But to be honest, I really don't go on senior day. My daughter calls it the silver flood. Like she doesn't go on senior day either. She's not a senior, but it's an outing, it's an
Right.
activity. Like, and they always seem to buy, like the really elderly people seem to buy glass. Like, why are they buying all this glass? What are they doing with it? Do they not have enough? They're 80. Like they've been buying glass their whole life. Like what is going on with that? But, if it works out, I'll go like on senior day if it just works out. But generally I don't, because it's so much of a hassle. It's sometimes you can't even get a cart, and the parking lot's full, and these older folks, they all know each other because this is their activity. They'll go do their senior day shopping, and then they'll go to Wendy's and get a hamburger and all that kind of stuff. That's their day. So I kind of just stay out of their way, and they're not buying what I would be buying anyway, so it's going to be there for me when I go on a non-senior discount day. So that's fine. But I do have that in my back pocket if I want to go on senior day, but I kind of just don't.
Yeah. And I feel like also like the Goodwills have been very like, I guess price increase as well. Like it's just
greedy. How about greedy? That's a good word.
There you go. I was like, what is
I said it, you didn't.
But it's just like, I feel like you can't, unless you go, we still have Dollar Day at Goodwill here by me. So every now and then I will go for Dollar Day. But I've been trying to like stay away from that. But I just feel like you're going in and you're buying a used shirt for like $6.99. To me, that's not a bargain. That's not a good deal. Whereas when people come to my shop, you can get a nice golf polo shirt, name brand, Vineyard Vines or whatever. I might put $2.50, $3 on it. So someone like you would come in and be like, oh my God, you're really only doing $3 on this? Like, it's because this is the community that I want. I want people to be excited about that $3 shirt on my shelf, where I got, like I said, this higher dollar item that you don't know about.
Right. Yeah. I love that mentality that, okay, you're going to make your money on volume in your thrift store.
Right.
Even if items are $1, $3, but you're rehoming them. It's not like you're getting all this free stuff, picking through it, and then either redonating it or throwing it away. It's going into somebody else's hands. And again, everybody's eBay business is different. Some people buy things for $3 and sell them for $20, and that works for them.
Right.
I personally just love selling anything. Like, sometimes I'll sell things for $10 if I've had it a long time, or like, oh, this will be so easy. I know I can get $10 for this and it costs $0.25. It's all how you run your business. So I love that you're supporting your reselling community like that.
Yeah, because it's I'm part of it, and if I'm getting it for free and I can still make $1 off of it, that's profit to me. Whereas it was just going to go into a landfill. So my son, he was getting mad at me because, we share a car right now. Mm-hmm. I'm in the process of getting another car, and, I'm always filling it up. Like there's always my backseat is always filled with something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I picked up my calculator to do some math. So you probably don't know this yet because you've only been open a month, but so let's say you sold 50 items a day and you made $1 profit. Let's lowball it, $1 profit. And so that's almost $19,000 over a year.
Yeah.
The little
just garbage.
Yeah. The little things really add up if you look at it like that. So,
and they fly out. And so what I've been saying, the one night we were driving home from the pizzeria because he works there with me. We were driving home and there's an after yard sale pile because I had stopped at that yard sale pile, picking him up on my lunch break to bring him back to work. And I was like, what do they got? Let me scout it out. And I bought one thing. And then when I drove home, it was there. So I had my car was in the shop. So I had my mom's car. And he's like, come on, we don't need any more stuff. This is where the skis I sold some hockey ice skates. And he's like, stop. He was literally locking me out of the car and not letting me put more stuff in the car. And he's like, it's too much. And I was like, do you understand this is how I put food on the table? Do you understand this is where you get whatever it is that you need or want from? Like, it's from this garbage right here, this pile. It's
And
money.
there's no such thing as too much stuff.
Right. And then when I sell it, I'm like, guess what? I just sold those skis. Guess how much I sold them for? Or, hey, you know those ice skates I cut my finger on because you locked me out of the car? Guess how much I just sold those for?
Well, let's talk about some of that. Some of these garbage picks and free items, estate sale. And just to clarify, you getting the stuff free from estate sales.
Well, I haven't been doing estate sale in a while.
I mean, when you go to a house clean out, that's what I meant.
So when it's a house clean out, no, I'm just getting it for free. Like I'm packing it up. I'm doing the back labor, and that's the trade of the business.
Okay. So they don't charge you anything because you're doing the work of getting it out of there.
Right. So sometimes what I've been doing is I've been going in and then I'll be like, hey, what are you guys doing after this estate sale? Here's my card. If you need to clean out, I can come help you. And
so how do you advertise this clean out service?
I haven't yet. Just because I'm working, like I said, on getting something bigger. I don't know if I'm going to get a trailer, a truck. That's my big venture right now, is figuring it out. Because what I've been doing is just using my car, and someone else comes with me and I use their car, and I'll make a couple trips and then get it done. And I have storage right here in the back. So, and then I get one of the younger kids, be like, hey, come help me lift all these boxes because my back is done for the day.
Right.
$20 for 20 minutes. They're happy. I'm happy. And then I'll take up each box as I need it. So my mom has also been really good word of mouth. Hey, my daughter has a thrift store. Anything you don't want, let me know. I'll take it. She's still a nurse at the hospital. So I'm getting a lot of fun things from some of her coworkers and stuff.
So it's just word of mouth at this point.
Right. I do. And I have the business Facebook. I'm not a huge fan of the business Facebook because it's different from regular person Facebook, I call
it.
Mm-hmm. But I Facebook a little bit of social media. Like someone's like, oh, next door, you got to go on next door. So I created a next door. I still have no idea what I'm doing with that app, but
and I think this business model is going to appeal to a lot of people that I think what you have is the small town, people know you.
Right.
And you're well connected. And where did I read this? In one of those business books that, people think your greatest resource is money, it's other people, it's being well connected. And
right.
When it comes down to it, that's what gets you ahead in life, is who who knows you, and just being well connected. And that's what you're really leveraging to your advantage.
Right. And I love talking about all the garbage and the money I make off of it. So any opportunity I have to tell someone that, like, really? And I'm like, yeah, if you have stuff you don't want, I'll take it. And if I don't, I always have a free table outside my thrift store too. So if it's something that like it maybe has a stain, but it's a really good brand, maybe someone who works in construction still wants it, or just like a pair of shoes that's a little too beat up that I don't want to put in the store, something like that. I put like a fun little free table, and people love my free table. So
that's a great idea.
And then I also, here and there, when I have a fun, item that's worth something, I'll put it out there. And someone's like, oh my God, really? You're getting rid of this? And I'm like, yeah, I don't really need it. So
that's kind of like bait to get them to come back.
Right. And then one of my shelvings that I got from the store that was closing at the mall was like this Gatorade shelf of whatnot, but the sign Gatorade on top, it like unscrewed. So I'm like, it was this huge heavy metal piece. And I'm like, what the heck am I going to do with this? So that day I just threw it out by the free pile. And I was like, all right, I'm going to recycle or junk it or whatever metal. And this young girl came in. She's like, Gatorade sign. She's like, this is for free. And I was like, yeah, it's for free. She's like, I can just have it. And I'm like, yeah, take it. Like,
yeah, you just never know what somebody's going to want.
Yeah. And I was like, see, like, that's what this is about. I didn't need it. You hauled it off for me, which was even more great. And I was like, even better. So then I had some like other heavier metal pieces that I wasn't going to use. And I had some really rusty wire racks that I had accumulated for my store, but I ended up not needing them. And I was like, God, it would be so nice if a junker came by today. I need someone who does scrap metaling to come by. And literally 20 minutes later, this guy came by and he's like, oh, I'm so-and-so. I can just take this. And I was like, yeah, and here I have all these up the driveway. You can take this. And he's like, anything you need? And I was like, yeah, I need a wagon. And he pulls a wagon out of his truck. And it was like, he was happy. I was happy. We were both. And like, I was like, see, that's why I do this.
That's great. So let's get back to things that you've sold. We've heard about the $400 teapot and the $100 white fuzzy Pokemon thing. What else did you sell on eBay that was pulled out of the trash or you got for free?
So one that there was that pool vacuum head. So, and that was a bulk garbage item night. And I was like, you know what? It's sealed, it's wrapped. I know nothing about pools, but that it's expensive. So I took it and I threw it at my car. And it probably sat in my car for maybe about 3 months before I actually carried it upstairs and listed it. I think I sold that for like 225, or I listed it for 225 and took a $200 offer or something like that. I always try to price just a little bit so I can send an offer, or I can, I have that much room to make, so if I see everyone else has theirs at like 150, I might do 160.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone has it at 200 or 300 or whatever they came up with. Like, I try to find a price right in between the average and the highest, if that makes sense. And then free garbage pool head. That guy was so excited. He found it. It was a model that they didn't make anymore. And these guys were just throwing it out. I was like, cha-ching. That was.
Did you know what it was?
I think it said like pool or aqua or something.
Okay.
So I didn't know exactly what it was when I threw it in my car. Or I might have said like pool vacuum or something. But I just grabbed it because it was wrapped and sealed. Mm-hmm. So this could just be garbage, but let's give it a whirl. And threw it in, and there it went. And then I know people will talk about items. They're like, oh, I could have gotten more money for that. I only have one item that I can ever think of that I was like, oh, it sold so fast and I should have went with my higher priced thing. But it was a pair of, again, it was Pokemon, and it was a package of Fruit of the Loom underpants. And I couldn't find anything anywhere. And the only thing that had something was Worth Point, but I'm not a member to Worth Point, so I couldn't see the price. So I was like, if it's on Worth Point, I should go higher. And I'm like, who's really going to pay $100 for little boy underwear? I was like, no one's going to pay $100 for little boy underwear. And so I finally listed them and I went with $50. That was my fastest selling item that I ever sold. It literally sold in like 2 minutes. And I look at the guys at work at the pizzeria and I was like, I just sold those underwear. And they all looked at me and they were like, what? For $50? And I was like, yeah, $50 in 2 minutes on those underwear. And everyone's like, you're lying, you're lying. And I was like, I'm not. Like, look, it's right here. $50 on underwear. And then when I got home, my son was like, Mom, you probably could have gotten a lot more money. That's the rare Charizard, whatever. And I was like, oh, but I was happy from $2. So that made my day. It made that buyer's day. We were all happy. So.
And I wish we could know on every sale why somebody bought that thing, because
yes,
the underwear, maybe it was a grown man buying it for his grown brother, like, oh, we had these as kids, ha 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 ha, here you go, happy birthday, and like, just what's the deal behind all these sales? Sometimes they'll tell you, oh, I had one of these and it broke, or the plush thing. There was an article in the Greenville paper here, well, like online, about this plush they found on a plane, and that thing looked like it had been through the ringer. It was old. It was supposed to be white, but it was dirty, and they're like, this is some child's lovey and we're trying to rehome it. And I'm thinking, yeah, good luck with that. They're just going to go on eBay and buy a new one. And, if it was for a child, the sky's the limit, because, that kid is unglued because he's lost his little friend, and they go on eBay, and I sell plush all the time for between 50 and 100, just because that's the market. I don't feel bad about it, but it's that kind of thing with some of these items, like the pool vacuum. Obviously, what that guy's going to do with it, but just, I feel like if we know more of the why, it makes us better sellers, and we're going to be more successful.
Yeah. And I usually don't. I know sometimes you say you message your buyers like, oh, just curious, what did you?
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to, but then I'm like, I don't know. What if they think I'm weird for asking why? Like, I get a little hesitant, or like, oh, just curious, what is this going for? And then I'm like, it's really none of my business. I made the money.
No, but like if they leave feedback and they're happy, that's when I ask them, oh, I saw your feedback. I'm so glad you're happy with the purchase. I'm just curious, never sold one of these before, or, just curious what made you buy this on eBay? Did you lose the one you had, or whatever? And you can just be curious, and a lot of times they'll tell you exactly the story. And I always end it with, thank you again for your purchase. And, if you can provide this answer, it makes me a better seller. So,
okay.
Yeah. Like I can serve you and others better if I know the why behind the purchase.
Why?
Yeah.
Right.
The purchase. Yeah.
Let me think of another fun item that I've gotten that I haven't talked about. I mean, I found at Goodwill, like the Department's 56 houses.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a Halloween one. It was $5.99, and I saw it sitting there, and I was like, gold, and I threw it in, and no cracks, no chips, no anything. Again, that's an item that I had no idea about unless I learned it from you. So I picked it up, threw it in the cart, it worked, and I sold that, I think, within 2 weeks for $150.
And what was it again?
It was one of the like Halloween Department 56.
Okay, right.
Is one of those. I also went to an estate sale, and it was one of those estate sales. This was back probably in 2020. And like the lady was priced like she like top dollar, high end, and anything, like she just wouldn't go down on anything at her estate sale. And I'm like, how about this? And she's like, $27. And I'm like, how about 10? Like, and that was even like a little bit more than I wanted to pay. She's like, no, I can't do it. Maybe 20. And I'm like, I don't want to spend $20 when I know I'm only going to make maybe 25. Like, to me, that's not worth buying it.
Mm-hmm.
So there were these salt and pepper shakers, and I probably passed by them a few times because the one had damage to them. And finally I was like, all right, just get something. And I got these salt and pepper shakers. She sold them to me for $5. They were the Holt Howard starry-eyed pepper shaker.
Oh, the starry-eyed Santas.
Yes. And the salt shaker had a bunch of corrosion to his face. So when I got home and looked those up, that was like another one of those items I fell over like, oh my God, these are worth that much money. I would have never known it. And then I was like, thank God I picked these up and didn't leave them sitting behind. But that was one of those items. I had to be patient with it. I might have changed the price after a year, back and forth, a little lower, a little higher, but it finally sold. I think I kept it at $350 for a while, and then I finally upped it, and I sold it for $375 for the pair.
And what'd you pay for them?
$5.
Oh, wow. What a return.
Yes. So that was one of those items I was like,
Yeah. Oh gosh. I've never found any Holt Howard. I'm always looking for it.
So Sunday or the other day, Saturday, there was a rummage sale, and I haven't been out like to spend money finding treasures in a while. And I was like, you know what? Just go. It's $5 bag day. Last time you did bag day at a rummage sale, you profited really well. So do it. So I got up early. I went over there. I ended up spending $80. I got 4 bags, filled them how I love to pack my bag. And the lady's like, how did you even pack this? And nothing's breaking. And I was like, I'm a pro. I'm a garbage picking pro. I
Lots
know
of
how to
experience. Yeah.
But she was so amazed how I had this bag of breakables, like so intricately filled to the brim where nothing was breaking. Like between the clothes and the knickknacks, I spent $20 for the shop. I didn't need to. I wanted to. It was kind of fun therapy for me to get out. But we got to talking about salt and pepper shakers. And this lady is like, oh, I just came across all these old salt and pepper shakers. And I was like, I'd love to take a look. I don't know if any of them are for sale. But so she brings me down into the church basement. And I was like, like there was so many. And I was like, all right, well, what do you want to do with them? Then I'm like, she's like, all right, well, $3 a set, as long as it's not Holt Howard. I'm like, oh, come on. She's like,
the one thing she knows.
Right. I was like, okay, so I'll look. She's like $3 a set. So I picked out, I think I had 16 because I was also on a time limit. I needed to get back to my store. So I was like, all right, I'll pick out 15. That's good enough. $3 a set. And then she's like, oh, well, I want to look up all of these before you take them real quick on eBay, just to make sure I can't make more money for the church, which I get it, but you should have done that before you offered them to me. I'm like,
right.
Sit here while you look up each and every salt and pepper shaker, because that's taking the fun out of it for me.
Right. Don't you just want to get rid of them and move on?
Right. So then I have the box, and then she's like, I show her how to take a picture on eBay and do it. Cause I was like, she's really going to look these. I got to show her a faster way. Cause I got to go. So she looked up a pair, and then she's like, all right, these ones are only like $9.99 on eBay. She's like, how about you take them for $5? And I said, $5? You just told me $3. And I was like, how about this? If you let me throw in a few more sets, I'll get it up to $60 and we'll call it even. And she's like, okay. So I just bought 20 salt and pepper shakers for $60, but I am almost positive I can make close to like $800 back on the ones that I picked. So I'm super excited about those. I'm super excited. That's my project today, is to go through the salt and pepper shakers. So
I love that feeling of, I have this, this haul of stuff, and I just can't wait to dive into it.
Yes. Oh, I've been waiting and waiting. I'm like, yes, I can't wait for Tuesday. I get to do a podcast. I get to do this fun stuff. So it's so much. And I love it. I love going through the stuff that people give me, because I'm like, what am I going to find? So one of the other greatest finds was townwide yard sale. I bought one of the Afghan blankets. It was probably like a twin size. It was white, but it had like the fluorescent centers or whatever. They were like fluorescent orange and pink and like really bright colors. So I was like, this is great. I bought it for $1. I brought it home to wash it, and out falls this watch. So I was like, oh, this was definitely hidden away for something.
That was your free parting gift.
Right. So I look at it and I was like, oh, okay, this may be worth something. So I put it in my work area, and then I was getting my floors redone. So I had to pack everything up, and I moved it into storage. And I just recently brought this out of storage, and come to find out, this watch is worth about $1,500 to $1,600.
It's really, what kind is it?
It's a 1958 Longines watch.
Longines.
Like a man. Yes. I'm like, I know nothing. I know nothing of what this means, but my boss was like, it's 17 jewels, it's real diamonds, it's 14 karat white gold. And I was just like, he's like, Tiffany, this is such a nice find. And I'm like, oh my God.
So is it listed?
I don't know whether I should list it on eBay. I think I want to take it to a jeweler and have it, I think they serviced or whatever they were.
Right. Yeah. That's what I would do is have it professionally cleaned, where they could take it apart and make sure it's in good working order and all that.
Yeah. And then if he can tell me what the grade of diamond is, then maybe, yeah, I will put it up on eBay, but like I don't want to put jewelry up and not know what kind of diamond or cut, or I don't know that. I've never come across anything this fancy before. So that might be appearing soon on eBay.
Yeah, that's a good plan. Figure it out before you list it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to, first of all, you don't want to underprice it.
Right.
But you have to know all of the details before you can figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's exciting though. I'm like, oh my gosh, and then people donating to the thrift store. I've gotten some rings, and the one ring, it definitely has markings on it. I can't see it. To me, it looks like it's real diamonds, but it's like another thing. I need to be like, hey, what is this? Tell me what this is. Because I don't.
Yeah, and I'm not a jewelry seller, but I have sold a few things, personal things in the past. And what I did was I had it appraised, and then I put a copy of the appraisal, like a picture of it, in the listing. So like, here is an expert. It was it was my wedding rings. And an anniversary ring. And this was way back, like when I first started eBay. Because hey, I wasn't married anymore. And you know what? The refrigerator and the water heater and my car all needed repairs. And I'm like, I just got to find something to sell. So that jewelry was more useful sold than sitting in a jewelry box, because I wasn't wearing it anyway. But I did, I had them appraised for insurance purposes on my personal insurance. And so I had those appraisals, but I don't know if jewelry sellers do this, but if you're not familiar with jewelry, I feel like that's a good safety net, because if you get questions, and then people looking at it can see, oh yeah, this is a current appraisal. This is what it's worth.
That I will take that into consideration. Thank you so much for that advice.
Yeah. And if you want to keep it, then you can insure it and you'll have an appraisal.
Right. Well, I have this ship right now that I also got free from one of the cleanouts. And I did a little bit of research on it. And this ship, it's like, okay, it could either be one of these $5 ships, but I'm thinking this is more of one of the $800 to $1,200 ships. So when I was talking to that antique lady the other day, I was like, look, I have this ship. She's like, oh yeah, you definitely want to get that appraised. So for an antiquer to say that to me, and I know nothing about antiques, I was like, all right, my hunch was right on this. So that's also on my to-do list today, is to reach out to an antique appraiser about that item. So,
and I don't know how much that costs these days to get something appraised, but it really is a safety net for you, because then the buyer can't claim it's fake or anything, those scams buyers try to pull on expensive items like, oh yeah, I got this and it's damaged or whatever. That appraisal is a good safety net. And then you might find out it's worth more than you thought.
And then you're like, woo!
And then you're like, well, do I want to keep this?
And wait, yeah, I know.
And see if it gets more expensive in the future. Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, we are getting to the end here. So you have been very helpful and forthcoming about your side venture. And I hear this from eBay sellers all the time. Like, I want to open a thrift store because I know how to do it. I'm out there anyway. So that's the advice I'm going to ask you for listeners. If you're interested in opening your own thrift store, what kind of advice would you give?
I'm going to say, just do it. If you think you can do it, just do it. I was able to open my store other than paying just the deposit and the rent. Literally everything I got was for free. The night I got my key, I got garbage piles and filled up my store that night. It is possible. You just have to put in that hard work. It is hard work, but like I said, I don't purchase anything for my store. So far, everything in my store is an item that I received for free. So abundance is all around us. Source it, find it, and use it. And, like they taught us back in the 80s in grammar school, reuse, reduce, and recycle, everybody.
Right. And
it's around us. And sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? Is this for real? I have a thrift store. Like, it's still like it all happened so fast. But it was one of those things where it was one thing and it was like, yes, you're doing this. And yes, here you are. And I'm still kind of inside, like, what am I doing? What am I gotten myself into? So I did take a little bit of money from my retirement from the hospital to have as backup if I need it, if I need money. I used it for my signs out front, but that's the only thing I've had to use that money for so far was my signage out front. Everything else, I have been so fortunate, so blessed, and it's just come right to me, right in front of me, like, ta-da. So anything is possible. Anything is possible.
So your expenses are your rent, your utilities. Do you have
utilities are included with the rent? So it's
okay.
Rent and insurance policy.
Insurance. So you don't have employees?
No, it's just me and my son.
Mm-hmm.
So I run the store 4 days a week or 6 days a week, and he does the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And it works out perfectly so far. It's been off to a great start. I met so many fun people reselling. Like, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of your dreams. Your dreams can really come true. I wrote it down a year ago and here I am doing it. And it's still like so surreal. Like, me, a business owner.
And you sound so energized and so positive and so people overuse this word, but passionate. You really are, because it's just, you can't wait to get more stuff to put in there and see who comes in that day. And I'm going to give this away for free. And it just seems to all work.
Well, I also think, when working a job that you're just so miserable in for so long, but yet you're so afraid to leave it because you're trying to support your family. Like, I was so miserable. Like, I was depressed. I went through depression. I hated getting up and going to work every morning. And now I'm like, yes, I can go to the thrift store. I can do what I want to do. Like, and then I leave the thrift store and I go to the pizzeria, and I love the pizzeria. It's like my family. I love my customers. They're the ones that pay my bills for me. So it really is, like you said, just talking to people, passionate about what you're doing. And I definitely have, my passion is for garbage.
Well, but you have that special vision where you can see the diamonds in the rough.
Yes.
One person just might see a pile of garbage, but you see all these other things with possibilities and
yes.
opportunities. And
yes.
That's the difference in an entrepreneur and non-entrepreneurs is even during chaos and times of uncertainty, entrepreneurs will see the opportunities. Like what if you worked for Zoom when the pandemic started? Like, that company exploded because the whole world's in the middle of this pandemic, but they've got the tool that's helping us do our jobs, communicate, have doctor appointments, all those things. And you just have to reframe how you look at things to see the opportunities. So I love that you're doing that. Okay, well, we are going to sign off now. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for choosing me to be one of your guests. I'm so excited about it.
Well, I just love seeing your garbage picks on the Money Making Mondays and the $100 threads. You'll be like, oh, found this in the trash. Someone gave this to me. It was free. And I was like, okay, wait, what is she up to?
Yeah, so that's it. Now everybody knows. I mean, like I said, abundance is all around us. So everyone utilize it.
Love it. Okay, we will see you on the Facebook group.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Suzanne.
Okay, bye.
Thanks again, Jane, for making time to come on my podcast. You are a busy lady and an inspiration because you just get it all done. Okay, today's trivia question. What is a polydactyl and how do they relate to Ernest Hemingway? Here are a few seconds to think about it. The word polydactyl comes from the Greek language, poly meaning many, dactylos meaning finger. This condition can occur on any mammal, including humans, but cats are pretty famous for having this condition. Polydactyl cats are born with more than the usual number of toes on their paws. While most cats have 5 toes on their front paws and 4 toes on their back paws, polydactyl cats have 6 or more on each paw. And if you've ever seen one, it does look kind of strange. Ernest Hemingway had a whole herd of polydactyl cats. I actually visited his home and museum in Key West years ago on a vacation, and we saw polydactyl cats lurking around the property. So here's the story on how he got them. One ship captain actually gave a polydactyl kitty to Hemingway. He kept the cat and named her Snow White. Today, the Ernest Hemingway Home and Museum is home to about 60 polydactyl cats, all descendants of Snow White, and about half of them have the physical trait of extra toes. But all of them have the polydactyl gene in their DNA. This means that even cats with 4 or 5 toes can still mother or father the multi-toed kittens. So there's a new word for you if you didn't know about polydactyl cats. Okay, next week my guest is Tiffany in Oregon, who is the quintessential baby boomer loving her life and eBay business during retirement. She has posted a lot of cool things on the Money Making Monday and $100 threads. Things she didn't even know what they were that sold for great money. And that's exactly what the listeners love. Crazy things that really sell. Okay, everybody, another podcast in the books. And speaking of books, make sure to watch my eBay store for the 2023 BOLO book coming in just a few days. Happy selling, everybody, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.